of decency and dignity, of freedom and possibilities. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power. God bless you all, and may God defend our freedom, and may God protect our troops.
He said that Vladimir Putin cannot remain in power. He also framed this conflict as totalitarianism versus freedom. What did you make of those two remarks?
So I think his comment that Putin had to go was an unforced error. It strengthens Putin at home, makes it difficult for any domestic opposition to coalesce together. And no Russian citizen, none, wants to be told by the leader of Russia's main enemy about what their leadership can look like and not. The broader framing I worry about as well. I think we should frame this narrowly. Russia out of Ukraine and impose so much pain on this man that he never thinks about doing this again. I think framing it as democracy versus autocracy drives the Chinese closer to the Russians and makes it difficult for some of our own allies who are autocrats to stand with us.
Listening to the president, he sounded pretty unambiguous. This man cannot remain in power. Are you concerned that by walking back the president's comments, you and other administration officials may be undermining him on the world stage at a really critical moment?
I think we all feel great about how the last couple of days have gone. It was important to get the president here to Europe.
Fortunately, the message is confused, which is why President Biden, I think, kind of worked himself up in this speech, and then he made a comment that he did. But the White House's response, though, to say what he really meant is really gaslighting the American people. We know that he really doesn't want he doesn't want Putin to be in power. And they could have just said, listen, The other thing I would say, too, is this isn't his only gaffe. President Biden also made the gaffe about sending the 82nd Airborne into Ukraine, which we're not doing. It was not a good, I think, trip for the president because the three big gaffes really are at cross purposes with the overall message from this administration.
There is no greater country than America. There is no greater president than Donald J. Trump. And if you don't mind me saying so, there is not a better member of Congress than Marjorie Taylor Greene. Give us the ability to fire Nancy Pelosi, take back the majority, impeach Joe Biden, and I'm going to nominate Donald Trump for Speaker of the United States House of Representatives.
By a fairly large 71 to 28% margin, Americans say they do not have a lot of confidence in President Biden's ability to respond to this war. 57% say we are already at war with Russia or will be within a year, a very pessimistic view. 34% disagree. What's more, 68% would prefer Mr. Biden make the economy his top priority, compared with just 29% who want him to focus on ending this war. Overall, President Biden's job approval stands at just 40%, with 55% disapproving. This is his worst showing yet in our poll since he became president.
Again, were they meant to deter or not?
Well, look, before the war, obviously we were laying out the consequences in pretty explicit detail with the hope that President Putin would take an alternative course. We were trying in that moment to sharpen his choice.
Even this trip to Europe might boost his poll numbers. Take a look at this. Biden's approval numbers are still just at 34%. What do you make of this?
Yeah, doesn't spell good news for the midterms now, does it? 34%. I'm surprised it's that high. In fact, that it would be used to boost his leadership image. Hasn't worked. It's not going to work, Rachel. Just review his trip to Europe. What has happened? He said sanctions were not meant to deter. His entire administration has contradicted him on that point.
Let's get something straight. You remember, if you covered me from the very beginning, I did not say that, in fact, the sanctions would deter him. Sanctions never deter. You keep talking about that. Sanctions never deter.
But that has not been the messaging from the White House and President Biden's own cabinet. This is what we were told about sanctions just last month.
The president believes that sanctions are intended to deter, where if Putin moves, then the costs are.
Is to do everything we can to deter, to prevent a war.
The purpose of the sanctions has always been and continues to be deterrence.
He said that he is hoping to increase and disseminate food shortages. Not sure what that means. I hope that's not the case.
Food shortages and what the U.S. will do to address wheat shortages in particular.
We both talked about how we could increase and disseminate more rapidly food shortages. And
he told the 82nd Airborne, don't jump. What a bizarre statement. It was like at the end of his State of the Union when he said, I'm going to get him. I'm not sure what he meant. And then the worst blunder, I think, of his presidency was suggesting that American troops were going to get involved in what is happening in Ukraine. The White House butted that immediately with the reporter Andrew Feinberg. But to make that kind of statement, even if it's a blunder or a gaffe, really dangerous when we're dealing with a nuclear power.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Don't jump. You guys are used to jumping. Don't jump. Anyway, thanks for letting me come and say hello to you all. And you're going to see when you're there, and some of you have been there, you're going to see women, young people standing in the middle in front of a damn tank, just saying, I'm not leaving. I'm holding my ground. They're incredible.